Now you know what's going to happen here. It happens every time. You know what's going to happen here. We're going to put someone out there again, and we're going to make it do what it do like we always do. So with that being said, everyone, welcome to the often imitated, never regulated, always rejuvenated Lois and Lamar TV talk show. I am your host, Lamar. Also here is beautiful Lois. Don't you love the red?
Hello, everyone.
Even this little thing right here, it's like, you know, it's nice. It's just nice. And also, we would love to welcome the highly prestigious, highly prestigious Anna Miller. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million places you could have been today, and you chose to sit with
But you
us.
chose to be here with
That
us.
makes us excited. We're real special today. Glad you could come. Welcome to the show.
Like, we're here to basically talk about something different today. And she is a representative of a company known as Lighthouse Hospice. And we are here to bring awareness for those who are interested in these types of services, or if you know someone that will really need this type of thing to be in their environment. So we are here to put the spotlight on it so the Lighthouse could put a spotlight on you. That was good, right?
That was good all by
Yeah, that
itself.
was really good. Yeah, that was good, right? I made it funny.
But we're also hoping that this could be a point of education for everyone, because hospice care is something that we never want to think about. But at some point in our life, we all will journey down that road and require such services. And I'm excited about what Ann has to share with us today, because Lois herself is very naive to hospice. I do work in the medical field, and I am aware of the things that hospice does. But it used to be very frightening for me when someone would say hospice to me, because when they said hospice to me, I thought that was the end of life for that person, that they were coming in to kill my loved one. But that's not what hospice is all about. There's a lot of different areas that they come in and provide different types of comfort care for the families at different stages of the person's illness, whether it be terminal or not so terminal. And Ann's going to educate us on all of that today, and she's going to talk to us about hospice, what they have to offer, and let's look at this as being Hospice 101, a day in a life with Miss Ann Miller. Thank you. Ann?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm truly honored to be here. And like Lois said, so many people hear the word hospice and they're intimidated by it. Actually, you shouldn't be. Hospice is a level of care that almost every family will have an opportunity or will experience at some point in their life. It's a service that we tend not to talk about, because as mentioned earlier, when you hear hospice, you automatically think, oh, I'm not ready to die. Well, hospice isn't about dying. Hospice is about quality of life until end of life. And when you bring hospice services in, not only does it help your loved one who's fighting that terminal or life-limiting illness, it's also a great support for the family. So we just try to get out there and encourage and educate as many people as possible about hospice services. And at Lighthouse, that's what we try to do. And I feel that that's my journey now. I was previously in pharmaceutical sales for 20 plus years.
Oh, really?
And that was great. I really enjoyed that, but now I'm on the other end of the spectrum. So it affords me an opportunity to be there for the family when they need me the most. And I feel good about hospice because when I leave a family, I know that I have left them in a better place than before they met me.
Between the two, which one would you prefer? The pharmaceutical or working in the area of hospice?
Hospice.
You like hospice, okay? That patient care, one-on-one contact with each other, okay?
Yes.
That connection. All right.
Like, tell me exactly. Things of this nature are, I would say, you have to be a certain type of individual to really have the ability that I say, doing God's work.
Yes.
And because of that factor, what was it in you that sparked that inner meaning that made you want to go down the path of healing and actually choose it to be, the main thing in your life?
Well, I've always been that person who has cared about others.
Mm.
I've always been a resource amongst my family and friends for different things, services. If they needed something, oftentimes they come to me.
Okay.
But after pharmaceutical sales, I had a little, a little void in my life. And when I re-entered the work field, hospice is where I started at. And at first I was like, oh my God, hospice, what am I going to do with that?
Right.
But after getting into the industry and learning everything about it and dispelling all of the myths that people have, oh, I'm going on hospice and they just going to give me morphine and kill me. Well, it's not about that. It's so much more. And just knowing that I can provide that service or encourage that support to families. When I go home at night, I feel good about what I've done. So it's a great feeling.
Absolutely, and that's the spark that will keep you going through the rest of thy days, because when you love something, and especially when it's something like this, it offers as many hardships that come with it are also equaled out in the many blessings that come with it. And it also, doing God's work, you always build up your spiritual bank account.
Yes. Amen. Hallelujah.
You may need to make a withdrawal, so make sure you don't go into negative. You're
Come on
gonna
now,
need that.
somebody.
You're gonna need that. So, tell us, exactly, what is hospice, and how would you describe it, in the day-to-day life of this situation when you, how can I say, there's different types of hospices.
Mm-hmm.
And in the day-to-day life of that, there's hospice and what is it called?
Palliative care?
Palliative care, thank you
So
much.
what's the difference between hospice and palliative
Yeah,
care?
in the day-to-day life of that, how does that work out?
Okay, well, I'll backtrack a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
For hospice, the Medicare definition is if a person has a life-limiting illness or a terminal illness where if it lived out its normal progression, it would be 6 months or less.
Mm.
That's the Medicare definition. But Medicare didn't create man, we have a higher creator. So oftentimes people that come on hospice and they think they're going to be here for less than 6 months, sometimes they're hospice graduates, whereas they've gotten better and they're discharged from the service. Sometimes people are on a hospice for a year, 2 years. It just depends on where they are in their journey. So there's a lot to hospice, and it doesn't necessarily mean coming on and dying right away. But there are 4 levels of hospice care, and there are hospice benefits. So the way that Medicare has it set up is once a person comes on to hospice service, you're on for 90 days. That's the first benefit period, 90 days. And after that 90 days, if there's any type of decline, it could be maybe you've lost a half a pound, or when you first came on service, you could walk 100 feet. Now you can only walk 10. That's considered a decline. And then you'll get renewed into the next 90-day benefit period. And after that, the same thing. As long as there's a decline, after the first 2 90-day benefit periods, then you have unlimited 60-day benefit periods. And what happens is that the nurse practitioner will come out and do another health assessment. and see where there has been a decline, and then you go into the next benefit period. But for some people that get better and they graduate, then they may go on to palliative care. So the difference between hospice and palliative care is palliative, you're seeking curative treatment. You're still going to the physicians to get treatments for maybe you have congestive heart failure, or maybe you have some form of cancer and you're receiving chemotherapy or radiation and you want to continue with those services. Then you would be under palliative care. But if you're under hospice, then you no longer want that aggressive treatment. You just want to be comfortable and have quality of life until end of life.
So with the palliative care, and you speak of aggressive treatment, what happens? Is that medication dosage and things like that? Whereas hospice, it gets more potent.
Yeah, don't get scared, people. It's not like aggressive.
No.
When you're
I know,
on
I know how
hospice,
y'all are. I
it
know how y'all
becomes-
think. I know.
I would
you
think
know.
that it would be more aggressive on hospice than on palliative care.
Well, on the palliative care, you're going to continue things as they were. If you're going to get chemo, you're going to continue with your chemo treatment or your radiation. If you're going to the cardiologist and you're on a high dosage of heart medications, you're going to continue that.
Okay.
But if you're on hospice,
Something has to go.
you're going to discontinue those treatments. An example would be, and I'm going to use myself. Suppose I have dialysis. I'm on dialysis, and my family wants me to continue with these dialysis treatments. But myself, I am tired of going to dialysis 3 times a week, 3 to 4 hours a day. After treatment, I come home, I'm exhausted, just resting up to go back the next day. So if my family will allow me to make this decision for myself, and I say I no longer want dialysis, then I'm going to go on to hospice care, because then they will be able to help manage my symptoms. If I experience any pain or whatever discomfort, hospice will be able to manage those symptoms. But if I'm continuing with dialysis, then it's more like palliative care, because I'm still seeking those treatments.
Okay. Definitely different, because I definitely know hospice. I'll speak about that later on in the conversation. But palliative care, that's something that was totally different to me. I never heard the term. The more you know.
So, share with us, Ann, exactly what services are covered by hospice.
Okay. Hospice covers everything that's needed related to your illness. You might need a hospice bed, that's covered at 100%. If you need oxygen, that's provided at 100%. And all of these services that I'm mentioning are covered 100% by Medicare, and they're provided by whichever hospice provider you utilize. For some families, the biggest thing for them is they're now able to get chucks and the adult depends. They no longer have, I know it seems funny, but
It wasn't there before.
it wasn't there,
It
and
wasn't
it's a huge expense for families if they're caring for their incontinent loved ones and they have to constantly go out and buy
need
those
them.
big
Get them
things.
now. They're all the
Yes.
rage.
We need them. We have to have them.
But,
It's a necessity.
Those things are covered 100% by hospice. If you needed a walker or wanted a walker, if you want a wheelchair, if you want a shower chair, if you want a hospital bed, all of those things are provided for you through hospice. No out-of-pocket expense. You're not going to receive a bill. And that also allows the family and the person who is experiencing hospice to be more comfortable and more relaxed, because you don't have to worry about, oh boy, I'm getting all this equipment, when's the bill coming? Are we going to have enough money to pay for that? And all of that's taken off the table. Now you're able to enjoy your life that you have, and your family is able to enjoy you during that time span.
Like, it's definitely, understand the services because years ago, um, my great aunt I was taking care of. I took care of her for many, many years, and she was actually on Lighthouse Hospice. And what she says is very, very true. Very, very, very true. I have to say personally for myself,
I thought I was going to lose him today when I told him Lighthouse.
it was definitely, very professional service. And I know it's even upgraded even further now, but you know, at that time, we definitely got what we needed. And for those who actually followed my story years ago, she actually graduated, and I kept her around through holistic medicine. I actually kept her around for another 8 years.
That's a
So
blessing.
I would definitely say, like, even at this moment now, she and I thank you in all your services. You have done well.
Thank you.
No problem at all. That's a personal testimony for the people out there. For those who are, how would I say, nervous about this type of thing, I personally experienced it myself. It was part of my own struggle with things and dealing with how things panned out. And everything is what she says, exactly what it is, and it's probably even better now because people can only improve with time. So, just a personal thing. It's very real. Back to you now.
And you know, and piggybacking on what Lamar had said, and I think it all depends on the education and the knowledge that an individual has of hospice and its services. I can recall losing a sister on my birthday, Christmas Eve, some years ago, and when her doctors first recommended hospice to my family, we were totally against it. We never called them, and the doctors would come out to the house to see her, and they would be like, have you gotten in touch with the hospice services? We were like, no, we're going to take her. They're going to come in and kill her. So we never called hospice, but towards the very end of her life, hospice did come in. And that's the best thing that we could have done, was to have hospice to come in and take care of her. So if there's a time in your life and you're going through something with a loved one and they're terminally ill and their journey here is ending, please call a hospice service to come in to assist you, because it is something that the families need. Do not be afraid to call them. They're not coming in to kill your loved ones. They're coming in to provide a professional type of comfort care to that individual, and it also brings comfort to the family. So please call them if you find that you need any type of services like hospice. Okay, we talked a little bit about the different types of hospices. How would a family actually go about receiving hospice care if they need to bring hospice in to take care of a loved one?
Well, after the family has that conversation with their medical provider, he or she would write what they call a hospice order. And on that order, it would say, evaluate and treat for hospice. That medical provider would then forward or fax the hospice order, any medical records, any medical history about the individual to Lighthouse Hospice. After we receive it, I or one of my colleagues will go out and meet with the family and explain to them what hospice is versus what they think it is.
Exactly.
So after, we do all of that, then there's paperwork that needs to be signed called consent forms, and we go through and we explain everything. During that process, you're asked questions like, do you have a living will? Do you have, who's your power of attorney for health care? Various things like that. what type of have you served in the military? And then we also have a questionnaire that talks about all about me, which is it's a series of questions that we ask so that we get to know the person.
Right.
When our team comes into the home, it's not as if they're coming to see a stranger. They already knew that Anna ran track in high school. They already knew some of the things that she enjoys doing, the people that are important to her in her life, and places that she's traveled, various things like that. So once I get all of that paperwork finished, then the nurse will come out and do what they call an assessment or evaluation to make sure that the person is actually appropriate for hospice. Because sometimes the paperwork can be vague.
Right.
But our nurses, we're not there. Well, I say we. I'm not the nurse. But the nurses, when they go out, they don't just look at the paperwork and say, oh, they don't meet the criteria for hospice that Medicare has. They will actually come out, meet with you, talk with your family to get a live version of what's actually going on with you. Okay. And then they're able to dig through everything and find something to support the documentation that the medical provider has sent over. And once she's completed that, then you're on our hospice service. And what happens after that, each individual that comes on will have their own individual care plan.
Okay.
So no one's a cookie cutter at Lighthouse. One person may need a home health aide only 3 times a week, and one person may need the home health aide 5 times a week. So it's based around the individual needs. And just to elaborate on those services, you're going to have a hospice team, which consists of the hospice medical director, the nurse practitioners, the RNs, the LPNs, home health aides, social workers, spiritual support, volunteers, medical massage therapy, pet therapy, and music therapy. They're all a part of the hospice team. And once you come on service, you're gonna get phone calls within the first 48 hours from the chaplain, from the nurses, from the social worker, from the volunteer coordinator, because they want you to know that they are here for you and how can we best support you and your loved one during this journey. So all of that is in place, and those are the people that will be involved in the care. And so it's a great thing that people do not take advantage of simply because they're afraid of the word hospice.
Yes.
But I always refer to hospice as helping hands. Hospice is an extra set of hands to help you and your loved one during their journey.
Hey, knowledge is power. Like, once you understand what it is, there is no fear. So, education is the key for everyone, boys and girls.
Moving on just a little bit, who pays for all of these services? You seem to offer an awful lot to the families. How are the services paid for? Private pay, Medicare, Medicaid, HMOs? Exactly who pays for it?
Yeah.
Medicare and Medicaid will cover the services 100%. Sometimes if a patient is not eligible for Medicare because of their age or Medicaid because of their disability, they may have private insurance, and their private insurance will also pay for it. But the funds to pay for hospice, we all have received paychecks, and we all have about 50 deductions on them. I know I do. Mm-hmm. And one of those deductions is Medicare. So the monies that's taken out of our paychecks under the Medicare, that's the monies that pay for the hospice services.
80%. So what if they only have the Medicare, which is going to pick up 80% of the cost? Is that correct?
Well, if they have Medicare Part A, 100% coverage.
Okay, great. Now, suppose it's a situation where that individual only receives Medicaid services. Will Medicaid pay hospice 100% for the services for a client?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And if a person is in a skilled nursing facility and they're receiving hospice, they're going to need both Medicare and Medicaid,
Right.
unless the family is
A
financially
billionaire. A
able.
billionaire.
Right. Unless
A
the family
billionaire.
is financially able to pay for that room and board, then you will not need Medicaid. But if the family's not able to, you're going to need Medicaid because they will pay for the room and board while the patient is receiving the hospice Medicare services.
Okay.
So where do you come in on all of this? Were you one of the field volunteers, or you said earlier that you were not one of the nurses, but it's the people like you that are important to these things, you know? Because it's you that gather all of the information. It's you who do all of the legwork. So it kind of starts on that person around the professional people.
The liaison.
Where do you come in at on all of this? I know you are a community liaison. I talk to you a lot in my facility. So basically you kind of go out, it's like you recruit. Them people coming to the army.
Yes.
So that's you're the recruiter.
Lighthouse.
You're
we
in the
want
army
you.
now. Yeah, no.
Excuse me. She makes sure that the word gets out about Lighthouse and that all these facilities that take care of sick people.
And she puts out the tea and crickets.
Yeah, she goes
about
out there and
Lighthouse.
she tries to get them into her boot camp before someone else goes out there and snatch them. Okay. All right. Can you talk to us a little bit? They offer a service called 5 Wishes. Does that have to do with aging or the actual 5 wishes that a person would like to have their family know about before they end their journey of life?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the 5 wishes for the audience? Because when I saw this, you all know Lois is a mess sometimes. All I could think about was Disney World. You know?
Yeah.
For some reason, they wanted to experience some of the joy of life before departing life, and the first thing that came to mind with me was Disney World. So
And you wishing upon a star and everything, right? You already know, like.
Yeah. So can you just kind of zoom in a little bit on the 5 wishes and kind of tell the people out there with what the 5 wishes are all about?
Yes. But before I do that, I just want to say Lighthouse Hospice, our service area is Mercer County, Burlington County, Cumberland County, Salem County, Gloucester County, and Cumberland County as far as Lighthouse. But we do have 2 other sister properties in New Jersey and a few others in 32 other states in New Jersey. So, 32 other states throughout the United States. So if you're on Lighthouse Hospice and you travel to visit family members in Florida, if there's a hospice, even if it's not Lighthouse, if there's a hospice in that area where you're traveling to, we will be in contact with them to let them know one of our members is coming to your area. So we
still want you.
I just learned something here. I did not know people on hospice could actually get up out of the bed and travel. Girl, I thought they just laid there on that bed until Jesus came and got them. I didn't know they could move around like that.
Look, where there's a will, there's an A.
This is all good for me.
Yes.
This is all good for me.
We actually had a family, it was a husband and wife. They were campers. The wife was on hospice service. They wanted to go down to Delaware to a campground. They reached out to us. Sure, we contacted a hospice in that area to make them aware if they had a concern that this family would be reaching out to them. They went, no problems. Came back, the husband said, well, honey, it's time for us to go to the Poconos now. So then they went to the Poconos, and again, we reached out to another hospice in that area to let them know that there was a hospice patient coming, and in the event they needed services.
In the Poconos.
In the Poconos.
So he actually was revived during his hospice
Poconos.
care.
Like I said before, they reached long. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. So, But to address the question of the 5 wishes, this is a living will document that came into play when Mother Teresa was declining. And she stated to her attorney, this is what I want and this is what I do not want.
Very smart.
So they put together this 5 wishes booklet, and it's very easy to understand. It addresses 5 things: who you want to be your power of attorney. If you had to be on life support, or if your condition warranted it, would you want it or would you not?
Mm-hmm.
It addresses how you would like to be treated. We all know, and we've seen people, they've started to decline, and the big circle of family and friends that they've had, now they've gone away. Because that person is not the same person that they used to see all the time and have fun with. Well, that person is still the same person.
Their pain makes them too uncomfortable.
Right. It's just that now they're declining and their health has changed. But they're still the same person and they still need you. They still need their family. It also talks about comfort measures. If you're in pain, do you want medication to help ease that pain? And oftentimes when people hear the word morphine and hospice, that's when they think, oh, they're trying to kill me. But actually, I've learned that from our nurses, sometimes morphine helps to regulate the breathing. If a person's having difficulty breathing or anxiety,
it relaxes the muscles.
The morphine relaxes them and helps them to get along a lot better, and they're comfortable now. So morphine isn't bad.
Yeah, they don't have them all drugged up like, oh yeah,
right.
Man. Like, they're not like that. Where do you get this stuff, man?
No. It's amazing what comes out of the words that are said sometimes.
Oh yeah, they get a whole different place.
And also it talks about what do you want? It's an opportunity for you to write your own celebration. We celebrate babies coming into the world. We celebrate weddings, bridal showers, everything. But we don't sit down and take the time to write out how we want our final celebration to be. And in this document, it gives you that opportunity to do that. You know, do you have certain songs you want sung? Do you want to be cremated or do you want a burial? What do you want? Not what does your family want for you.
Not to be left to interpretation.
Exactly. And that's why we need to get comfortable having those uncomfortable conversations.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to come anyway.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, so you may as well have that conversation so that you know what to do. Because when you lose a loved one and you don't have things in order,
you're not thinking straight at all.
Right. It's very chaotic.
It's a nightmare.
You got to reach out to the funeral director. You got to reach out to your pastor. You know, you got to call the family members. This one's coming over. That one's coming over.
And your whole world is coming crashing down at the same time.
Whole world's crashing down. You can even go as far as writing your obituary, because even though it sounds morbid, there are a lot of things you may have accomplished in your life that your children may not be aware of, and they don't know about it.
There you go.
And put down those names, because I know from experience that if you leave off someone's name in that obituary, oh man.
Minestrone soup.
Ooh, it will be. Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is.
It's going to be trouble.
Yes, it will be.
And you know,
yes,
that's very true. About 35 years ago, I wrote my obituary, and it's a nuisance, because in 35 years, I've done so much more. My children could never write my obituary.
They weren't around for half of it.
They could never write it. I'm amazed myself when I look at it and say, wow, I did all of that. It's scattered all over the house, because every now and then I'll pick up a piece of paper and I'll add to it.
There'll be stuff that you
It's in
forgot all
this
about.
file,
Like,
it's in that file. I even have taken it and made a subject thing with it.
Right.
And then they could say what they want to show them the things that their mother have accomplished in this life. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Yeah.
amazing. I could go out this door right now and stumble into something else. Then I have to go back in there and add it on. But there are two people that I do trust with the obituary. The entertainment part of my life, my goddaughter, Juanita Gibson, and my daughter, Kelly Rams, they have that part. Education blows me away because I went to school way up until, I ain't going to say what age, but past the retirement age. I was still going to college. I've been to multiple schools and done so much. So it is a good idea to write it out and put it in a place where, you know, your family can find it. And, you know, if they can't find it in all them files I got.
And like I said, you
With the life insurance policies,
better write the
turn on
names
mom's
down.
computer and go into her notes. It's all out there for them. You know, very accessible.
If you miss a name, they will bring the beef to Thanksgiving.
Yes. Yes.
They will.
Yeah.
Even the nice ones.
Or the ones you thought were nice.
Even the nice ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so important to get your paperwork in order, and even your banking. Don't forget about the banking stuff. You need to have people's names on your accounts that you trust.
That's right.
And when you put those people's names on your paperwork, let them know that.
It's etched in stone.
And
You are the
also
one.
let your family know where your paperwork is.
Yes.
And if you
They
have
don't know.
if you have a safe deposit box, make sure somebody has that extra key, because you know what? If you pass and all your documents are in the bank and
They
the safe
can't
deposit
ask
bank,
you.
You can't
They
get in
don't.
there.
right?
You have to
They will not have access to
get the
it.
administrative papers, administrative estate papers before you can get in there. So,
Yes. So it's so important to get your house in order
yeah.
and share it with those that are going to do right by you.
Well, I think I'm pretty much finished with everything that I have for you. Lamar, did you have anything else for Adam?
As she's just speaking, like, once again, I'm just, you know, reminiscing on my own experiences with it, and it definitely touches the core with a lot of things. And I would just like to say once again, it is definitely needed. And for those who have been there down that road before, they will definitely appreciate it, because I know I have. So everyone out there, if you're in need for these types of services, like I said, once again, Lighthouse Hospice, South Jersey, regulated, but like I said, 5 wishes, wish upon a star, like she said.
Disney World.
It's the 5 fingers of life, because it's like it's everywhere, right? It's not the 5 fingers of death, it's like it's the 5 fingers of life. So it's like I said, it's like all over the states, 50 states. So they'll be able to find one for you wherever you are. And like I said, from Lois and Lamar, we thank you once again. Thank you so much for coming to our show. And we definitely wish you hope, peace, and blessings, because like I said before, you are doing the Lord's work, and you will be triumphant anytime you do that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you both.
One more question. Lighthouse, are they on any of the social media apps, like Facebook or Instagram?
Oh yeah.
Or,
You
or Twitter or someplace? If you know, someone may not have a card, and you know, everybody now zooms to social media to find different things. Would they be able to find maybe a Facebook page on Lighthouse?
Yes, Lighthouse does have a Facebook page where they'd be able to find us.
Okay, great. And of course, you know, if you ever needed the services and you wanted Miss Anna Miller to participate in guiding your family through this process, you can always reach out to Lamar and myself if you can't find her through the services at Lighthouse. And we would be happy to get in touch with her and have her to contact you. And this concludes our show for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a side note, you know, like when people that do see this show, they're going to see you later, like, yo, I saw you on TV, man. I saw you.
And thanks so much for coming to the show and
Thank you.
and sharing the knowledge that you have about hospice, it has been truly learning experience for me. It has been a learning experience for me. Today I received my certification in Hospice 101. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you.
We have enjoyed you.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye, everyone. Until the next time, peace, love, and joy.
And hair grease.
Grease.